So as of now, I believe we got some idea regarding this guideware, right? It's not in detail, but some overview about the product
Yes.
design, how what are the different transactions we have, and the policy life cycle, right? And
Yes.
also little bit of information about the PCFs, right? So now we will go in detail about each section. Okay. So first and foremost thing is the data model, where we have the entity structure, right? Entity level architecture, where we are going to have the fields and where we are going to store the data and all, right? So that is where the data modeling comes into picture. Okay. So we'll start with this PPT and then we will move to the studio. Okay. Just yeah. I mean, my audio is clear, right? Or is it still mumbling?
Clear.
Okay, okay, perfect. Yeah. So first and foremost thing, right? If someone from outside, say for example, not a developer, if someone from outside the developing tool, say for example a business analyst wants to verify what are all the things which we have in the database, or not in database but the data model, right? Like which are all the entities we have, what are the fields we have and all. We have something like a data dictionary. Okay, opening the data dictionary, you will find all the relations between the tables, like foreign keying, the fields which we have there, the type of those fields. All these information are available in the data dictionary. Okay, that is first thing. But we are not going to use the data dictionary from a developer's perspective, because we already have a studio, right, where we can directly view the entities basically, right? So for example, account entity, if I'm opening .ati, so entity will follow .ati and .ttx. Okay, so if I want to open an account entity, or in another other way, account entity means it's a table basically. Okay, whenever we say an entity, it's a table in the SQL or in some other database. Okay, so I'm just opening this account entity. So this is as I told you earlier, right? So there are two types of entities basically. One is metadata entities, where the guidewire will be generating these entities and we cannot modify anything into that entity basically. So this entity account.ati is something which guidewire created and it's provided to the customers basically. Okay, so this will come under metadata folder. If you check the path, it will come like this: configuration, config, metadata, entity, account.ati. Okay, and if you want to modify anything to the guidewire provided entity, you can have an extension of that entity. Okay, so .ati is something which you cannot modify if it is guidewire provided, not a custom based entity. Okay, if you create a new entity, definitely it will be having .ati only, and you can edit anything because you created that entity, right? But if some entity or table that is provided by the guidewire, then it will be in .ati format and you cannot modify it. If you want to modify something to the guidewire provided entities, you need to go with the .atx one. This is the .atx one. Okay, and .etx you can find it in the extensions folder. Just like metadata, you have something like configuration, config, extension, entity, etx. So what all files you find it under this entity, right? Extensions entity, right, will be etx actually. It's an extension basically. Okay, so that is where we have started earlier, right? So I'm just moving ahead actually. Okay. So this is, I think this is something which we have discussed earlier, I believe, the data modeling, right? Like how it will look in the database. It will, whenever you create an entity, right, in the back end, it will form an XML basically. Okay, so what all things we even a PCF, right? If you create a PCF also, in the back end you have an XML for that actually. So everything is in the XML format basically in the back end. But you, for the user friendly thing, you can have everything in the PCF or the ETI level. Okay, but whenever you create something in the Guidewire Studio, it will take the format of the XML basically in the backend. Okay, that is a prime thing. So that is what they're saying here. Whenever you create an entity in the backend, what is happening basically? It will create an XML like this, and also it will generate a Java class. So if you check here as well, I think account. You can find something like this. This is something which will be generated by the guidewire Java. You cannot touch any Java class or anything here. Okay, you can only make modification to the gosu classes basically. Okay, so whenever you create an entity for account, it will, whenever you after that you will load the project or you will start the server, right? It will in turn create this Java files in the backend. Actually, that is what is happening. Okay, so that is idea. So you need not worry about any of these Java files and all these things and all. It will, guidewire will provide basically in the backend, and you cannot edit or modify anything. As you could see here, this is a read-only file. Okay, so you have, I mean, for the account we have an ETI file.
So I have a
Yeah, correct.
question. Like,
Mhm.
if we create a new table or entity, so it will take XML format, right? So if
Anything. Yeah.
anything,
Mhm.
so
Anything which you create in the backend, we have an XML format basically. That is what
okay.
the idea is. Yeah. But you cannot
So
view
what
it, right?
so
Yeah.
what is this ETX format?
Yeah, ETX is something like, in the UI, you can find it actually. What I meant is, say, for example, if you want to, this is not a user-friendly thing, right? This is an XML basically. Okay. I mean, this is the XML version of that particular account, right? So if I tell you to add something here, it will be very tough, right, to understand what it is. But if you view in this format, it is very easy for you. Say, for example, you need to add an array here, right? You can just click this plus button and you can add an array over here. It will be very easy for you. But if you are going to add directly to that XML, it will be very hard for you, right? You need to create an enter here, and you need to provide some, I mean, that particular array field, everything. You need to basically, you will have to code it basically, right? So what I meant is, whenever you create an entity in the backend, you have an XML created. That is what you find it over here. This is for the account.etx file, the XML which is generated by the system. Okay, and whenever you add something to this account, any new fields, right, that will automatically get added here as well. Say, for
Okay.
example, you have primary
So it's like
language.
we want to
Mhm.
add through the front end part of the backend XML file.
Exactly. No, you are not going to touch base with the XML path because it will
So
be
we can't
automatically
modify it.
taken. You can modify. You can definitely modify this XML. That's what, right? If you want to add something, you can modify here actually. That is
Okay.
fine. But that is not, I mean, we need not do that, right? Because we already have I mean, beautiful thing over here, like in the entity format, right? So if you want to add something, directly you can add, you can choose what you need to add: column, array, foreign key,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
anything, you can add it over here, right?
Yeah,
But
Vaishnav, will you
Can
teach
you?
us how to design this
Yeah.
entities?
yeah,
Basically,
sure,
like
definitely.
how to write that one to one, and that whenever you have an array, that time you have to like
Definitely. We
reverse.
have it. Yeah. I mean, we are coming
Yeah.
to that only. Don't worry.
Oh,
It's just the
okay.
beginning. Yeah. We have the relationships coming up actually
Yeah, yeah,
after
sure.
this. Okay.
Thank
So, I mean, this is the basic thing. Okay. I mean, what I'm trying to say is what is happening in the back end, right? You might be seeing all these things in the UI, but what is actually happening with the guidewire whenever you create an account or entity, right? So, this will be having a text format where it will form the XML thing. The format will be XML, but it will be text actually. Okay, so that is what is happening in the backend. So if I add a new field over here, what will happen? A new column here, right? If I add a new column here, it will add here as well. That is what I meant. Okay, so this is the basic thing about any entities basically. Okay, so now we have the relationships. Say, for example, you need to connect between two tables, right? So how you will do that? So we will come to that now. Okay, so yeah, so entities are the high level business
So,
objects like
so
tables.
I had like one more question. So,
Yeah.
yeah, as you mentioned, like if we do want to connect two different tables, so are we using like SQL commands for that, or like there are different commands in
No, no,
the?
no, no need to add any SQL commands and all. You will directly add the relationships here itself. That is where this foreign keys and all comes into picture basically. I will just open
Sure.
something like policy driver. Let's try.
So when you design this table, please be slow so that we can learn.
Okay, sure. Definitely, yeah. Okay, and okay, one policy driver array vehicle drivers, right? So now, right, say for example, we have two tables now. Okay, one is policy driver and the other one is vehicle driver. Say for example, you need to connect these two tables. Okay, and something like, in one policy driver, you can have many vehicle drivers basically. That is the condition, that is the logic. Okay, now how we will design this? That is a question, right? It's very easy. You need to just, I mean, this one is read only file, I believe. Let me see. Dot etx. I think there is no etx file. Maybe we can create an etx file for this. But what I'm saying is, uh, so if you want array of vehicle drivers, this entity, right? Array of this value, I mean, this vehicle driver in policy driver, you can click this add button, or just like how we add here, right? We have these many options over here. Okay, these are the different type of fields we can have it over here in one entity. Okay, you can just click this array button. Okay, and then it will create an array. Just try here. Okay, it created an array over here, right? And the name is required. I mean, what you want here, like vehicle drivers, right? we will provide, okay, vehicle drivers, and which entity you want to have it as an array, right? So vehicle driver is over here, right? So I've created an array of vehicle drivers in the account now. I'm not going to do this, but just for the education purpose, right? So I'm just adding an array. This is how we are adding an array basically, okay, to an entity. So the array is getting created. Description is not mandatory, but it's always good, because if our entities are, linked to some other third-party system and all, they can understand what this entity, what this field is all about. Okay, that is the reason. So other things, these are all defaulted basically. No need to worry. If until and unless you have some conditions, okay. But these are the two main things. If you have an array in this particular entity, right? So account is going to have array of vehicle drivers. That is the understanding. If I'm adding something like this, okay. And now, so we took these two as an example, right? In policy driver, we have an array of vehicle drivers. Now, since you have an array of vehicle drivers, that vehicle driver entity has to relate this to this policy driver, right? Otherwise, how it will know which policy driver I am connected to? That is where foreign key comes into picture, basically. Okay, so that each vehicle driver will be tagged to that particular policy driver. That is understood. So the policy driver can have array of vehicle drivers. All those vehicle drivers will be connected to that particular policy driver via foreign key. Okay, so foreign key is nothing but that connecting link actually between the parent and the, not parent basically, but between two elements basically, two tables, entities basically. Okay, you got an idea about foreign key, right? I mean, like, why we are using a foreign key? It's to relate to two tables basically.
Yeah.
So what are the three different types of relationships which we can have? One is foreign key and array. These two things we have discussed. Okay, and the third one is type key. Type key is nothing but if you have a drop down of predetermined values, right? So then you can follow the type key basically. Okay, and each type key will be referenced to any type list. Actually, we have type list. So type list. Let me open any type list. Start.tx. These are all type lists, basically extensions of type list. Okay, if I okay, I will just take this one as an example. A building site type. This is a type list basically. Okay, and if in an entity, if you want to have a field where the dropdown is going to have all these values, front, rear, left, right, you can simply have a type key in that particular entity, which will refer this type list. Say, for example, I'll just show you how we're doing it. So in the account.etx, right, we have something like, what is it? Where is it? Type key. Okay, I'm creating a type key. You just provide some name to it, building site type, right? So building site type. I'm just providing this like this. And the type list, you can provide the different type list over here. Okay, building type site out. Yeah, site type, right? So this, what is happening basically is, in the backend, whenever you have this entity, right? I mean, the account entity, you can call this particular field like building site type, right? And there, whenever you are calling this type key in the UI, there you will have a drop down where you will find all these values, front, rear, left, right. So that is another relationship actually. Okay. So you got an idea about type list as well, right? Or if you have any confusion, just let me know. We can stop here and we can discuss that actually, because this is very important actually.
So
Like why we need to have a type list.
can you show like once again how to add that foreign key?
Sure, definitely. So foreign key, right? Say for example, account and vehicle driver. I need to have an array basically. Okay, array relationship. Okay, so in the account, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create array of vehicle drivers. Okay, so for that, what we need to do in the drop down, I need to choose this as an array basically. Okay, and I need to just provide these names, right? I mean, vehicle drivers. And array entity is nothing but vehicle driver, right? Vehicle driver. So till now it is till here it is clear, right? Now in the vehicle driver, since you have an array of vehicle drivers in the account level, in the vehicle driver you need to have a foreign key to the account basically, because this one is, I think we'll have to create, yeah, ETX is there, right? So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a foreign key to account actually, so that, yeah. So here which is the entity which I need to provide? just let me, I mean, just tell me what is the foreign key entity from the vehicle driver now towards the
So
account.
that'll be like the policy driver or the context which you opened.
No, this
So
one is
we,
actually vehicle driver. So now
yeah,
we need to have a foreign key, right? Towards what? Towards account, basically, right?
account.
Because account is,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So account entity is something which we need to provide
So we
here,
have to
right?
create like the foreign keys in both entities, right?
No,
To
no,
connect
only
them.
one entity, right? Because
But
the
you
other one is
created
having
a,
array. Other one
oh,
is array, basically, right? No need to add foreign key in both the entities, basically,
so you added something
because
there as well.
this is array, basically, right? Array of vehicle drivers. You have an array
Oh,
of vehicle
okay.
drivers over here, and
Okay, so
in
we'll
the
create a array where we want the like the other table to be imported, the data from the other table
exactly,
to.
exactly, exactly.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I mean, if the requirement is to have n number of vehicle drivers for an account, then we are going to have an array over here, okay, for the vehicle
Okay.
drivers. And if that is
Okay.
the case, here definitely you need to have, I mean, an foreign key back to the account actually. That is what I
Okay.
meant. Otherwise,
Okay.
how it will know which account it is referring to, right? You
Yeah,
have
got
already
it.
have an, yeah. That is the reason we are having this foreign key actually.
Okay.
Okay,
Perfect.
it need not be an array, it can be one-to-one as well. Okay, that is also possible. It need not be like, but most of the scenarios it will be array to foreign key relationship actually. Okay, that is what I have experienced from my experience. One-to-one is very minimal, so that is what. Okay, so I'm just okay, so this. Okay, so till now you got an idea, right? So basically we have three types of relationships.
So
So first one
Vaishnav,
is,
I have one
yeah,
query.
yeah,
In the relationship, there is something called as one to one to
yeah,
many is also there. So
exactly, yeah.
now when we are like defining an array, actually it is
Mhm.
a one to many relationship, correct?
Yeah, array means, yeah, one minute. Yeah,
Yeah,
array is one to many only. Yeah, that is true.
yeah. So in that case, we are not using that from the drop down that one to many relationship.
We can use it, right? I mean, it's not that mandatory. It's not. I mean, what I meant is one to one is over here, and which
Yeah,
one you mentioned here?
yeah. One to many is not there.
One to many is array only, right? We have array for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Why we need to
Okay,
have it separate one? Yeah, but
okay.
ideally array is one to many only. That is the
Yeah.
understanding, right?
Okay.
In the drop down, the terminology might be different, but this is in turn one to many only. It's an array of
Okay.
elements, right?
Yeah.
So that is
Got
what,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that is what the relationship we can have three. One is foreign key, the second one is array, and the third one is type key actually. Okay, and in an entity, I mean, an entity defines a set of entity fields to store information. This we have discussed earlier. You can add the following kind of fields to an entity, right? The data, that is column basically. So column is nothing but what are the things which we need in that entity basically, right? Other than the relationship. So that is what a column is. So column, we can add it like this, and name you can provide something, then type you can provide like monetary field, all those things is possible, like which one, I mean, which type, date, time, decimal, all these things you can define over here, whether it's a date actually, currency amount. So it does have its own flavor actually.
So
So
you
once you
created
provide,
so you created this building site type, right? Type key.
hmm,
So
yeah,
why isn't it coming in the here? Like to why can't I
no,
see?
it's no, this is not a type list, right? This is a column actually. If you
Yeah,
want a
column.
type list to be referred here, it has to be type key basically, then it will come here. So
Okay.
this is a column, right? Column means one single element you can have.
So we can add different types to one type key, or we have to create each a single type key for every like
No, no,
types.
no, no. You are confused. You're getting confused here, I believe. So this is not something which you find it in the UI. This is a type actually. Okay, not type key. Type of that particular column, like money or date time or decimal. What is the character of that particular column, right? What is the property of that particular column? Say, for example, you have an effective date field in UI, right? So what you will have, what happens is like I'm creating a column like effective date here, name is effective date, then what should be the type basically? It's not a type key basically. It's not a drop down, right?
So like,
I'm
what's
going,
the use of type key?
yeah, type key to get a list of drop down basically. I will just show you that. Okay. So I'm just going with a type key here. So building site type, right? So site type. So this is a type key which I'm going to add. Type list is going to be what? Building, uh, sorry. Okay, building site type. So what basically happens is if you have a type key like this, oh, I think I already created this. What will happen is in the UI where you have this field, right? So there you will have a drop down basically having all these fields, or I mean all these values, front, rear, left, right. So you can choose from this which value you need to choose. These are all predetermined ones in the guidewire, right?
Okay.
Let me see if I mean my studio is up, I believe. I'll just show you. Okay, so this is the look and feel of a policy which you can create in UI. Okay, so let me
Okay.
see for you if we have a drop down for this. No, this is not a type key basically. Let me see. Yeah, see here. So you have something like a body type, right? This is coming
Yeah.
from which one? Vehicle entity, right? Let me see if we can track here as well. Vehicle.tx. Just vehicle. Yeah. Okay. What was that actually? Body type, right? Yeah, body type. See here, this is a type key basically, right? This is body type. So what is the type list of body type? Body type is there, right? Let me open that. Body type.
And why are we not able to edit it?
Because it's ETA, right? I mean, it's an ETA file. So it's guidewire
Okay.
provided one actually. So if you want to make some change to that particular entity, you need to create an extension of this particular entity actually. That is the reason.
Okay. So can you show me like how to do that and how what effect it has on the output?
We can do that. I will show you that as well. No worries. Okay. So right now, just understand that how we are referencing it actually, right? So this is a body type. We have a drop down like this. So from
Okay.
where we are getting these values basically, right? Can you
Okay.
just
Got
guess from where are we getting these values
by
converted?
just selecting the type key.
Okay. So we have something like body type key here. From
Yeah.
here only we are getting it actually. These
Okay.
values, right? Coop,
Okay.
photo, all these things you're getting from there. That is how it is getting referenced.
Okay.
Okay. And it will be having some category as well that we will discuss later. Because
Okay.
based on the category, you're finding these values. You can filter it basically. Not, it's not like all the type keys will be visible over here.
Okay.
It's based on the category. Okay, that's
Okay.
also fine. Yeah. So that is one thing. Okay. Then what? So now you said like you want to see this one as well, right? I mean, how we will create this extension, right? I think from here, personal vehicle entity extension is there, right? So entity, new entity extension. So which entity you need to extend it, right? Personal vehicle, right? So personal vehicle. You want to extend this personal vehicle entity. If you create this way, so it will have this extension, and you need to have at least one, field to this. That is the reason it's showing some, error actually here. Okay, so just add a field. If you want to modify anything to this particular entity, since it is read-only file, you need to create an extension of that particular entity. You got this idea, like how we are extending a personal, or I can explain once again,
So
like how
I
we are
got
extending.
how we
Okay.
created an extension.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
if it is empty now, so how do we select one?
Yeah, you can create anything, right? You can just add a column. Say, for example, here, vehicle, something ban, vehicle, win or something. Okay, win. Type, let it be where car. It's
So
where
I
car is
was
nothing but
my question was
mhm.
like if we originally like the one you opened at the output side, right? If you
Uh,
originally want to edit that only, like how do we do that?
you cannot edit it. That's what I meant. But ideally, if you create an ATX file for that particular entity, what all changes you make to that ATX file will reflect here only. That is the idea actually.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's what I think. Like, so can we make changes to the original fields which are already
No,
there?
no, 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 no. You
So
cannot.
we can
So
add
if
only a new
you
field.
can, yeah, you can override basically. There is one
Override,
property
yeah.
to override the extent. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's some
how do we
column.
do?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So okay. So let me see. Um, column param override is there. Let me see if you want to do this. Override column param should be there. Yeah, override button is there right here.
Yeah.
So that particular column, right click, override. And then you can provide what all things you need actually there. So it will override basically that particular entity in that particular field. That is the understanding. You got it right. Say for example, one such example, right? One practical scenario. Say for example, you have something like annual mileage, okay, and this annual mileage, the limit is provided that. Let me check if we have anything. Yeah, this one. This is the ideal example actually. You have something like a license plate, okay, and the size of that particular license plate is 40. Okay, now say for example, there is some scenario where for few of the states the size is getting, I mean, it's the limit is getting pushed from 40 to 50. It's already
Okay.
live in production, right? You cannot just go and change this one. So what you can do is you can override this particular column. You can override it, and then you can provide what is the new limit basically to this
Okay.
license.
How do we provide
Yeah, here
the limit?
exactly. Here you can change it, right? Here, just change it to 50. So that your new limit is going to
So
be
it will
50
reflect on the front side.
It will reflect automatically whenever you I mean you are pushing this one, right? For the new ones, that limit value is going to be refreshed to 50. It will not pick this one, the older one, because you already have a column param override, right? So license plate, this will not no longer be taken actually. This will be not retired basically. No, I think where is it? So since you have overridden this one, the older license plate will not be taken into account actually.
Okay.
I think you here you will find it, right? License plate. Yeah, this one. This will not be taken actually, since you have an override functionality here actually. So that is understanding. So likewise, you can override it basically. Okay.
Okay.
That is how we are doing. Okay. So let me this. Okay. So okay. So this is okay, and let's see where we have started. So you got an idea, right? Like what is an entity and how we're creating fields and relationships basically, right? Foreign keys, array, and type key, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that is the basic block for entity first and all.
Okay.
And here, this one I believe we have discussed the type, right? Basically, that we have discussed earlier, right? For each column, whenever we're creating the column, we can have different types for that particular column. I think we discussed this one. Varchar is nothing but string actually. It can take either integer or string basically. It can have a number or alpha, numeric, anything it can take actually Varchar. If you want to have a create time or a date, right? It can take date time or date only as well. Okay. And then if you have a boolean, say for example true or false, right? True or false format. If the field is going to be true or false, then you need to choose that particular field as a bit actually. So that is what I believe. If you see here, you can see here, right? The type basically. I think not this one. Let me take this one, right? Yeah. So here you can see that drop down, right? So for example, vehicle VIN. I've created this new field, right? So you can choose anything like this. So what is that particular type of that particular vehicle VIN, right? That you can choose it from here.
Okay.
So for example, if it is integer, right? You can go with the integer. If the integer is there, right? So it will not allow you to input any alphabets basically, or any decimals basically. So you can define that way as well. That's possible here. Okay, that is what they are mentioning here. Okay, different types. So depending on the nature of that particular field, you can define that particular type as well. Okay, so that is what is happening here. And this is what we have discussed earlier, like how we are that relation between the foreign key. I mean, between two tables using foreign keys. Yeah, you got it right. Yeah.
So the documentation you're using to kind of teach us. So is it downloadable?
No, that is a problem. Guidewire doesn't allow us to download these documents, right? You need to have access, because that is a problem. Because if we can download it,
take the screenshots.
We can take the screenshots, I believe. Yeah, but how many screenshots we can take, right?
Yeah.
If that is the case, it's better if you have access to this education.
Like how do I get access?
That is what, let me check, because for us, I told you, right, it's through the company we are getting this
Yeah,
access.
yeah.
But for others, okay. Let me check with Swati
Yeah,
only
you can
told
let me.
us, right? Yeah, let's check with Swati, or let me check with other trainers if they have any, inputs regarding this, like how we can create a personal account in Guidewire, right, with all these things.
Yeah, I
Maybe
want to.
we'll check that. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
Okay, so this is something which we have discussed earlier, right? Like AB contact is having array of contact nodes, right? That is the reason it's plural here, contact nodes, right? And then what happens in the contact node entity, you need to have one foreign key towards AB contact, right? So the AB contact here is a foreign key, and contact nodes is going to be an array actually. So this is foreign key to array relationship. Okay, so this is what I think we have discussed earlier, the same thing. And this is how we have a type list. I think we have discussed this. I don't think we need to discuss this again, but how we are adding type list, right? Type keys from the type list, reference the type list. You are clear with this one, right? I mean, this type list and all. Type list is nothing but a set of possible drop-down values, basically, which is there, which can be there in the UI.
Okay.
Okay, next topic is actually a super type and subtype, basically. So subtype is nothing but, say for example, if we have multiple entries or multiple fields in an entity, which is going to be common across actually, or if which is going to be duplicate basically, right? Why you need to create a new entity with all the fields by that repetition, right? So at that point of time, what you can do is you can create subtype of that particular parent entity. Okay, so the parent entity will become super type, and subtype will acquire it will inherit basically all the fields from its super type, from its parent entity. And if you want to make any new fields pertaining to that particular type of entity, right, then you can add that particular field to that particular subtype. So that, say for example, if you have 8 fields which are, which are there in the super type, and then you need not create these 8 fields again in the subtype. Subtype will acquire that, inherit it from the super type, so that whenever you access that subtype, you will get these fields basically from the super type. And if you want to add any new fields to that, you can add it in the subtype, so that the subtype will act as a category, and it will inherit all the possible fields from its super type basically. So super type is something like a parent entity which is having its own reference in the database. Subtype will not have its own reference in the database, but it, whatever fields you add it in the subtype, right, that will be present in physical thing. The physical database, right? That will be present in the super type basically. So subtype entity doesn't have a physical presence as its own actually, but in the super type entity you can have those new fields
So,
which you have added in the subtype.
so can you explain like practically in the
Mhm.
scenario,
Sure,
real life
sure, sure.
scenario, what's the
Yeah, yeah,
difference?
yeah. Sure, sure, sure. So, say for example, we are taking AB contact. So, AB contact is nothing but an entity. Okay, just treat this as an entity. Okay, and where we can have n number of contacts, like policy drivers or person, company, anything you can have it, right, as a contact, right? So now, say for example, you need to derive the property of this AB contact, and you need to create two different type of contacts. One is person, and the other one is company. Okay, and it should acquire all the fields from the AB contact. AB contact, what all things you have it in the AB contact, say for example, display name, or the address or something like that, right? So you need to get all the fields which are present in the AB contact. It should acquire in the AB person. And now what is happening is, like, AB person as such is going to be having different types actually, like a doctor, policy person, vendor. So these are all the subtypes of this AP person, right? Because why we need to have different entities for this person, vendor, policy person, and adjudicator? Like, why that's not needed basically, because this should acquire all the all the properties from its parent entities basically, like super type basically, right? And then it should have its own fields as well. It will be having its own fields as well. Say for example, adjudicator will be having his own number, like adjudicator number, maybe, right? That will be present only for this adjudicator, right? And policy person will be having something related to that particular policy, right? And person vendor will be having some vendor number or something pertaining to that particular subtype. But as such, this will acquire all the fields that is present in AB person and AB contact. That is understanding, because this is coming from this, right? From AB contact, you are getting AB person, and whenever you create a person contact, you can have different subtypes as well. So an AB person, so this is kind of a chaining, okay? So AB contact here is going to be super type, then AB person. So AB person will act as a super type for these three, subtypes, and this again will act as a super type to these two. I mean, subtypes basically, right? So that is what this is kind of a hierarchy, but this will be having its own flavor basically. Okay, this AB doctor and all. Maybe one or two fields they will be adding with respect to that particular field. Okay, you got my point, or are you not clear with this?
So you told that these subtypes will not be visible. Like, so, like, what? How will they not
In
be
the,
visible?
yeah, that is what I meant is subtypes. Say for example, you will not find something like a abdoctor.api in the database. You will not find it
Okay.
actually, but you will find something like AB contact only. Okay, as an entity, because it's a super type, right? What I meant is, if you want to get the details of this AB doctor, you will get it from the AB contact entity in the SQL database or the physical database, and you will be
Oh,
having
okay.
something like a subtype column
It will
basically.
be under the AB contact, but it will
Exactly,
exist,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, because these are all subtypes, right? AB contact is
Oh.
having these two as subtypes, and all these things are subtypes basically. So
So,
you
but if
can
we want to kind of find any subtype, we can go to AB contact and then we can pursue the subtype, right?
exactly. So in AB contact, you will have something like subtype column basically in the SQL. So
Okay.
based on the subtype column, that we'll be having some code or something, I believe. I think it will come in the next slide. Next slide.
Yeah,
So
I would
based on
like to
that, you
see
can
this
identify.
from the database end also.
But I don't have an SQL database. But I think from here we can. But what I meant is, let me see if we have it.
So the
Yeah, in the storage.
subtype column we don't have in the like not able to see it.
Yeah. We'll see it over here, I believe.
Okay.
So this is something like how we will view it in the database, right? So
Yeah.
let me see. Yeah. So exceptions. They are mentioning some exceptions here, like entities that share
Virtual
the
end.
columns. In
Yeah.
in entity tables such as subtype entity, you will not find the subtype entity is what they're saying, right? Often an entity stores data in a database table named for the entity, like AB contact. It is going to be AB underscore AB contact, right? So they are mentioning this as an exception here, like entities that share the columns in an entity table, such as a subtype entity, and also virtual. Like we have something like virtual entities as well. Okay, but we Guidewire recommends that you do not create non-persistent entities. I mean, it's kind of a virtual property. Okay, we will come
This
to
is
that.
only
Don't worry.
used for interview.
Yeah, that is also true actually. In practically, I don't think, but you will be using virtual properties basically in the enhancement classes. Okay, that is very much handy actually. So this is what you have a table like this, and AP person is having first name, middle name, and last name. So you'll be having three columns like this, and you will be having different rows, right? With all these things. But what I mean by virtual is something like full name is virtual. Full name doesn't have its own instance in the database physically. But what is full name basically? Full name is the concatenation of first name, middle name, and last name. We have some kind of a coding here, right? So Gosu code defines virtual fields that, and there is no physical database column here. So if you want to display first name, middle name, and last name somewhere, then you can have a virtual property or virtual field basically, okay, where you can refer this one. There you need to have a Gosu code as well. We'll come to that enhancement thing and all, but we'll go ahead with this one. Okay. So yeah, this is how I think foreign key, I believe, right? Foreign key, how it is assigned. That is what they're mentioning. We'll be having an ID here. So you have two things. One is AB contact. AB contact will be having, I think, an array of users basically. Okay. So that AB contact, like foreign key fields are stored as foreign key columns, right? That is what they're mentioning. And this will identify, this is 4, right? This will pick this value actually. That is how it is picking. So from AB contact, how it will get to know that Alice Applegate is the person, right? It is through this foreign key. 4 is a foreign key here, that ID basically. So this is a user ID basically, right? And you'll be having this as a foreign key basically to the contact. Okay. And yeah, I think this one also we have discussed, I believe. Vendor type. This is again, I think, type list and type keys as well. It's almost same actually what we have discussed earlier, right? It will be having its own IDs and it will relate there, like from this ID, right? From this table to this table. So this is a type list basically, vendor type. Okay. So vendor type is nothing but I mean, this is something like a type key in the AB contact basically. Okay. From this type key, it will pick this this value, auto glass shop. That is how it is getting related actually. Okay, based on that particular ID. So this is what I meant. It's like subtype I told you, right? We'll be having a column for that actually. So supertype parent table stores all the instant of itself and of subtype data. That is what I meant. It's not like you will be having a separate entity in the physical database for the subtype. Okay. So supertype parent will be having its own values as well as its subtypes data as well. And how you will realize which subtype this is basically, right? So that particular, we have a column called subtype. Guidewire will provide that one. So whenever you create a subtype to a parent, a supertype entity, it will create a column for the subtype as well here. Okay. And then the subtype ID, that value will give you the idea, like which one this is, like which subtype it belongs to. It's whether it's adjudicator or whether it's attorney or whether it's auto repair shop. From this, it will get an idea. Okay. And in case of that, right, say for example, the other super type fields are null in subtype. If in case, right, it will come as null here only if you don't have any values. So that is the reason you're finding all these values as null. So that is what they're saying here. Irrelevant fields for that particular subtype will be null for those specific subtypes, because doctor might not be having any value. I mean, say for example, you have two subtypes, right? One is that for the adjudicator and the second one is for the doctor. Maybe doctor's license number, why adjudicator should be having, right? So adjudicator row, say for example, if this row is adjudicator 75, then adjudicator row will not have the doctor's license number. That particular field will be null actually. Because why I'm saying you this is, right, because these are all subtypes. So this, all the subtypes will have all the fields that is coming from the parent supertype entity. So even though this is adjudicator's row, this will be having column for the doctor's license number, right? Because it's coming from the supertype. But even if that is the case, since this is adjudicator, that particular doctor's field will be null here. That is what they're saying here. Okay. And
I
you can
I did not get.
Oh, okay. I will tell you that. Yeah. Say for example, this, what is this table basically? This table is supertype table, right? Supertype table in the sense, this is contact table actually. We can call it as AB contact table, right? So AB contact table is the supertype, right? Where you're going to derive the doctor, adjudicator, attorney, all these things, right? I mean, all these subtypes. So if you have subtypes like, adjudicator, doctor and all for this AB contact, if say for example, in that particular subtype for doctor, you're adding a new field like doctor's license number, right? Whenever you add any field to that particular subtype, that will be reflected in the supertype entity, AB contact. It will come as a new row, new column here actually, like doctor license number here, just like this, right? Because subtype as its own doesn't have an instance in the database. Like it doesn't have, say for example, AB doctor.ati, you will not find in the SQL database basically. That is, physically you will not find that entity. But that particular field which you have added in the subtype will be present in the AB contact supertype entity. That particular column, you can find it over here. Okay. So now you have two subtypes. One is adjudicators one and the second one is AB doctor one for the AB contact, right? So for each row, say for example, first row is AB adjudicator one, the second one is AB doctor one. Okay. But if this is the case also, what I meant is, say for example, doctors will be having what? Doctor license number in its subtype, right? So since this is coming from the super type, all the fields will be present for that particular row. Even though this is AB doctor, it will have the fields of that particular AB adjudicator as well. You can find it. But the only difference is that that particular value will be null because it is irrelevant, right? It is irrelevant when it comes to AB adjudicator. That license number of a doctor doesn't make any sense for an adjudicator, right? But that column will be present because it is coming from the super type. That is what I meant. So it is coming in the AB contact entity. That is the reason if you find all the columns which you have added for any of the subtypes in the super type, right? But the relevant fields only will be having values. Say for example, AB doctor will be having doctor's license number value in the AB, doctor license column. Similarly, adjudicator will be having its own relevant fields, basically that value. Other fields will be null actually. Like if it is irrelevant for an adjudicator, say for example, doctor's license number value will be null, but that field will be there. That column will be present actually in the SQL database. or in any other database. You got my point, or you're still confused?
I got it, sir.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. So that is the basic thing. Okay. So subtype column will identify it actually, like which subtype this is belonging to, which subtype. Okay. And that ID will give you, I mean, we will be having a type code for this, and that particular ID will give you the type code, which subtype this belongs to basically. Okay. Okay. I think this is about the data modeling. Okay. I think this is not needed, I believe. Data dictionary. Okay, this is about data dictionary. Okay, how we can open a data dictionary. There is something like, training a build dictionary data. You have some folder for this, I believe. Let me check. Let me check if we have something like, that is not that much relevant for us basically, but let me see.
I think now it's not included in the policy center
I
data
think so,
structure.
because earlier we used to find it
In 8
actually.
it was included in the
Okay.
same
Somewhere we
folder.
used to generate it basically. Maybe
Yeah, yeah, yes.
yeah, there is Apple dictionary data. Okay, if I build dictionary, right? Let me check that as well. No, I think it is removed as you rightly said. It's not present.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. But what I meant is, we have something like, I mean, earlier we had this one actually, like a data dictionary. I will check this
Yeah.
one. Okay, if I
So
find it,
like
I will let you know.
version it had, which version it had.
I think version 8 and 9,
Version
we
8.
used to find it. Yeah.
So before those versions, it was not available.
I mean, version 8 and 9 it was there, but now we are dealing with version 10, right? But it should be there somewhere, is what I feel.
No, no, it is there
Hmm.
definitely.
Okay,
No,
Otherwise, you
whatever
can't
somewhere.
see
fix
it from the build this, no?
Yeah,
Otherwise, you
that is
cannot
what.
see it from the HTML.
Backend, it should be there somewhere actually. Okay.
Just try to search for index.html.
Okay. Let me check that as well. But this is not that much relevant for us basically, because we are not going to deal with it. I mean, as a developer, right?
So we don't have to deal with it.
No. As a developer, it's not needed actually, because we
Yeah,
already have the studio here, right? You can we view
yeah, yeah.
everything, all the things here. But
Like,
from a
what's the
business
purpose
analyst,
of this dictionary?
yeah, for the business analyst, right? If they want to see
Okay.
the whole the graph, like policy, how it is related to different entities and all, for them actually they don't have a studio, right? Basically.
That's the one I think. Build idea
Hmm.
web app inside
Let
that one.
me,
But
yeah,
it's still not there as data dictionary.
but it's not a data dictionary, right?
Yeah.
Mm,
No.
okay, no, it couldn't be accessed actually. Yeah, that is fine anyways. I mean, it is not that much relevant, but let me see if I can get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on. Working with data dictionary. Okay, I think data modeling, I think we have almost covered everything. Okay, till now for the data modeling, right? Do you have any doubts? Because this is the building block basically. Product modeling and data modeling, right? These are the two major pillars of Guidewire actually. Okay, so these two things are must initially, and then comes the UI part, and then the integrations, ratings, and all. But product model and data model, it's very much important initially to build any product, right? That is very much needed. Okay, so for the data modeling, right? So basic things I have explained now. So just let me know if you have any doubts or anything regarding these entities, type list, or anything, any doubts till now. Anyways, once you get this, hands-ons, right, you will understand more actually. Okay, you need not worry about this one, but this is just the beginning. But data modeling, you need to understand it. Okay, then I will just go to the extension of that particular data model. Okay, I'll just go through this. This is where the ETX comes into picture. Okay, I think we have discussed this one, but we'll go with it once again. Okay, So there are basically two main types of entities, as we have discussed, right? One is the metadata one, that is the base application entities, which Guidewire provides by itself, the ETI ones, and the custom entities. Custom entities can be ETI ones, right? When you create a new entity also, it could be ETI ones, but that will come not in the metadata one actually. Okay, metadata is something where you have a Guidewire provided entities, where it is going to be read-only modes, okay? Custom entities is nothing but, based on the custom client requirements, you are going to add a new entity. You have some new fields and all. If that is coming into picture, you need to go with the custom entities. Okay. And the other one is like, we are going to extend the base entity which Guidewire provided us, right? That's also possible. Okay, like for the ETI, how we have extended that I have shown you, right? So that is one thing. Okay. As we have discussed earlier also, that ETI file describes entity in XML format. In the backend, it is going to be an XML format. Okay. So these are different, like different X centers, how these entities, these are all the different entities that we have and all. These, you need not worry about it. We are concentrating about this policy, right? PolicyCenter basically. So that is fine. So this and all we can, yeah. So one another thing, right? Custom entities always follow some nomenclature. Best practices there actually. So whenever you're creating a custom entity, you need to follow something like underscore ext with a naming convention. Okay, why we are doing this? So otherwise, how you will know that whether this is Guidewire created entity or you created this entity? You are extending that Guidewire's data model, right? So definitely, whenever you have a new entity that you need to create, that will follow this underscore ext. Okay, that is what I meant. You understood that one, right? This one is something like, policy is something like Guidewire provided entity. So that is the reason you don't find underscore ext over here. But whenever you create, trailer is a custom entity basically. Okay, or met case in case of claims, it is, claims entity basically. Okay, so met case underscore ext will come into picture here. So this one is trailer underscore ext, and the reason being, this is a custom entity. Okay. So custom entity, and again, if you want to extend, you can do that as well, but most probably you will not be doing that, right? Extension. So you will be going with that ETX file only. ETI file only with underscore ext. Okay. So I think these are all you can just. Yeah. So these are also all I think we have discussed, right? How it is going to generate a Java file, Java class in backend, and it will create an instance whenever you add something in UI, and it will be saved to the database actually. Type list also, I think for the extension applies to the type list as well. Okay, we can have an extension for the type list as well. That is what it's all about. It's TTX. Whenever you find the file name as X right at the end, it is going to be an extension basically. Okay, so that is what, even this applies for the type list as well. If you want to create a custom type list, right, it will follow this underscore ext. In that, along with that name actually, that name of the type list basically. Okay, that is what, yeah, that is what it is dealing with. So yeah, TTI, TIX is nothing but it's a virtual one actually. We will not make any change to this TIX. That is for the Guidewire purpose basically in the backend. Okay, TTI and TTX is the ones which we will create basically. So yeah, virtual type list, TIX don't exist as .tti files in Studio. It's Java code. Java code is generated for type list as well, basically. Okay, just like entity, when you create a type list, also Java code will be generated basically. Okay. So yeah. These are all, I think, some of the activities which they are mentioning over here. So I think this is fine. So till now, do you have any? Do you want to play this one? You want to see this demo or? Like,
Yeah, we can see the demo
okay, fine. I think you'll get
because
some
this
more
is a
idea.
logical end of the series, right? Next, we are going to start with is the user interface.
Exactly. Yeah, that is what. This is very important actually. I think it's pretty much. Yeah. But you will not be getting the audio, right? Like what they're going to do it actually.
So we
Yeah,
will
no
not.
audio.
Yeah, that is a problem. It is having an audio, but I don't think you will get it.
No, we are not getting the audio.
Yeah, that is what.
It doesn't have the like the transcripts where they see the subtitles or something.
I think it's guide. It's all about guidewire, right? I don't think we can. Okay, I will go. You can get it from here. I think the transcript, right? Okay. Okay, so an insurance company wants to implement a social media functionality to provide a more personalized experience to customers. Okay, every customer has the option to accept or decline the service. If no response is received from the customer, the default value is false, declined. So that is a condition. So if they accept the service, then the insurance company will store additional information about each customer. This information also needs to be displayed in the UI. Okay. Oh, yeah. I mean, so they're trying to add this thing, right? So the folder contains two types of read-only files. Let me see if I can. Okay. 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 So .etf files, which contains base application, and EIX file, which contains internal entity extensions. EIX file, you are not going to have any access, so you can just ignore it. So yeah. So address.ati. Oh, but if you look at address.eix, you see that it has many more properties, including fields, than the .etf file. This is because it implements functionality specific to training app, as mentioned. These files are read-only and cannot be modified. Yeah. So this you need not worry. Okay. Address.eix you can just ignore. We are not going to do anything over this. ETI and ETX files are the ones which are going to make changes. Okay. So the extensions, right, where you're going to make the change basically. Okay, so customer modifications exist in this folder, extensions. Okay, this folder contains editable fields of two types: .eti files, which contains custom entity definitions, and .etx files, which contains custom entity extensions, basically. Okay. So this is what I meant. These are all subtypes, basically. Okay, AB attorney, AB adjudicator, and all these things. Okay. See here. This is a subtype. Okay. It's a subtype, and you will have its own columns and type keys basically over here. That is what it is. So for subtype, right, you'll have the supertype. Like, what is the supertype of that particular thing? That is AB person vendor for the AB attorney. So that is what you will find it over here. So this will derive all the fields from the AB person vendor. That this is what I have discussed earlier. Okay. So yeah, 1 minute. So yeah. So, for example, AB attorney is an entity unique to training app. It extends the AB person vendor entity with information exclusive to attorneys. So, attorney license and attorney specialty, right? These two fields are specific to this AB attorney and subtype basically. Okay. So AB Connect has an .etx file here, and containing fields which are defined on the base application configuration, but which can be modified by the customer. You can tell the base fields which are editable because the ones that are not grayed out, right? Well, the editable custom fields are in black. So the black ones you can edit, and the grayed out ones you cannot edit basically. Okay. If the customer wants to extend AB contact, they should use the existing AB contact.etx. It's extension one, right? You can't create a new .etx file because one already exists. You cannot have multiple etx file for the AB contact. Okay. So as I told you, right, Control Shift N, you can open any file basically. Okay, that is what they're trying to do. Note that we get a filtered list of a lot of files here, which gets more focused as one type. I type. When I finish, I think it's some kind of typo. I mean, they're transcripting this one, right? So yeah. Typing AB contact, I have not only the files related to the entity, but files related to things like AB contact address. Let me see what they're saying here. I think it's a bit tough actually to follow this transcript actually. Okay. Okay, a tax ID. Okay, you have something like a tax ID over here. AP contact ETX. Okay, tax ID is over here. Okay. In the custom extensions file, we have a column overhead of tax ID, which, yeah, this is what I meant. In the extensions file, if you want to make any change to the existing tax ID field that is present in the ETI file, right? They're going to have, the column override actually. Okay, I think here column override. They're going to override that particular tax ID which is present in the base entity. Okay, that is what they're trying to do here. And column param, their encryption, they're setting something here actually. Okay, tax ID column override, they are setting this encryption as true actually. So this is basically, I think, the hands-on which they provided to for creating this subtype, supertype, and how overriding is happening. I think we discussed this in the studio itself, right? So yeah, it will contact, and this is the this is the Java file which they are creating in the the Guidewire will be creating actually whenever you create an entity. Okay. So this is just the demo which they have provided. How they are extending an entity, all those things actually. You got an idea, right? I mean, this is nothing but what we have discussed here in the studio actually, like how we are getting an extension file, how we are overriding something, right? We already discussed that, I believe. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
So you got an idea, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think we can. So I think next part is actually the user interface architecture. Okay, this is also a major part where you are going to familiarize with the PCFs, basically the architecture, UI level architecture, like the building blocks, like atomic widgets, container widgets, detail view, pages, screens, pop-ups. We have n number of things in the PCF basically. Okay, so that is what we are going to experience now. So data modeling, I believe you're all clear, right? Or if you have any doubts with regarding to anything, you can just let me know. Okay, so meanwhile, I will just, I will have to start with the PCM, but I will just walk through in UI how you can create a policy basically. Okay. So that also, so once your server is up, I've given you the link, right? It will come like this actually in UI. Okay. This is the entry point, not entry point in the sense like, where you will log into that particular PolicyCenter system. Okay. So by default, the username is going to be SU, super user, tab, and the password is going to be GW. Okay. Now I have already have an account which I have created. So I'm going to create a new account, new submission basically. Okay, for maybe personal auto. I will choose personal auto. So when I click this new submission itself, it will give us the idea like which organization it is belonging to. Producer code. We can choose and change the producer code, organization, and all from here. Okay, and then you have something like code type, whether it's a quick code or full application. We have discussed this one earlier, right? So let it be full application. Then the default base state, for which state you need to have this policy basically. You can choose any of the US, states here. Okay, let it be California, and the default effective date, from which date this policy has to be effective. So I'm choosing it as current date. So it will come as current date by default actually. Okay, now you have n number of the available policy lines of products basically here. I'm going with personal auto. I'm choosing this one. Then there is some offering like standard, basic, premium, and all, which when you need. These are all client specific. Okay, it's not like whenever you start working on your client requirement, you will find this offering section. It's not mandatory basically. Okay, that is from my experience as well. It will be different actually. So qualification we have discussed earlier, right? I mean, in the product designer, we have seen this PA pre-qualification. I can show you here once again. Let me see if it is open. Yeah. So where you will find this one? Question sets, right? So PA pre-qualification, right? We have something like this, questions. So these are the questions which you are finding here actually. Is the applicant currently insured, right? You have it over here. Is the applicant currently insured? So this is what actually, this is it's currently what, let me see here. So this is a drop down basically, right? Yes, no. I mean, we have a drop down for this one. So it is defined as a drop down. I think we have something like choices here. In the choices, you can add basically like what are all the possible answers we can have for that. Based on that, you will find it over here. Okay. In this drop down, you will get those values. Like, this is what you're finding it over here, right? In the choices. Yes, new driver. I mean, previous policy, not known. The same thing you're finding it over here, right, in this drop down. So that is what, and then these are all bits, right? I mean, booleans basically. So if I'm going there once again, these are all, if I click this one, what is this basically? This is bit actually, right? This is defined as a bit. This is also bit. I mean, basically boolean basically. Okay. Then you have something like this. Let me see. I think maybe this availability. Let me check, because this you're not finding it over here, right? It might be having some availability, or let's see. Why it is not coming? This for the driver name and explain the conviction. Okay, it might be dependent on something else. That's also possible. Let me see. Dependent on. See here. This question, right? Any drivers with conviction for moving traffic violations? This has to be yes, actually. That is the idea, right? So this has to be yes for that particular question to be visible here, actually. You understood, right? What is dependent questions, right? So if it is
Yeah.
no, it won't be there. So if it is yes, it will be visible actually. So that is how we have configured. Okay. So I mean, that particular question, which question we want. So if it is dependent on some other question's answer, dependent on functionalities here, right? Click that dependent on, select that particular question. If you want to add a new question here, you can just add that particular question here. You have all these questions in the pre-qualification, right? You can choose any of them. And then you can choose whether it's yes or no, so that that particular question will be visible. Understood, right? I mean, it's clear, right? For you, Aparna and Karan?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So, yeah.
This is a good thing because
Hmm.
I mean, I have worked on this previously, but again, enhancements only.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is what, right? Implementation budget, if we have an experience, right, that
Yeah.
will be really good actually. Enhancement, we will not know the complete picture, but in
Correct.
implementation, right from the
Yeah. Yeah.
scratch, we will start working on it. So that is what. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So once I click
Most.
next, right, yeah,
Hmm.
I will land to this policy info screen. So this is a common screen basically, right? We have discussed this earlier as well. This is not dependent on I mean, on that particular policy line, right? It's not
Yeah.
dependent on
Yes.
this lot of, right? So this is a generic screen which we have. Even if you check this in the submission wizard PCF, policy info is not at all dependent on the lines actually. It's not coming under the sections, shared sections basically, okay? And here what you can do is like you can choose a term type like annual or 6 months, all these things you can choose, effective date. So once you choose this annual, the expiration date will automatically change to 47. Okay, if it is 6 months, it will change to 6 months basically. Okay, so these are all guidewire provided ones. If you click others, it will be something different. You can choose expiration date here, like you can choose the term type here if it is other basically, but usually it will be annual. That is usually what we have seen. And return date is something like, when you are creating this policy. Today I'm creating this policy, right? So return date will be current date basically. Okay, and this one we got it from the whenever you create a new submission, you have seen this organization produce a code, right? The same thing you will find it over here with the underwriting companies. Okay, and here if you want to have some additional named insured other than policy named insured, primary named insured, you can add this as well. Okay, like if you want to add some person, new person or new company, you can add that as well here. Okay, some custom fields you have it over here. Okay, and then I'm clicking. So I have added all the mandatory fields here because the asterisk ones are the mandatory fields. You need to provide these fields basically. Okay, then only you can move further. Okay, I'm clicking next. So driver, right? I need to add an existing. I mean, you can create a new person, or the primary named insured also you can add. So I'm going with that particular person who is getting insured, right? That particular person I'm just adding. So I think that particular person is the primary named insured is what? Gregory House, something like this, right? So I'm just taking the same thing. These are all I mean, this is basically the driver screen, right? We will deal with all these things in the backend as well, that PCFs, right? We will have a detailed session for that as well, like how we are configuring these things. Okay, you need not worry about that, but I'm just trying to create a policy and just show you like how this will look like for an end customer basically. Okay, so these are all what all things we have in the driver screen, the custom fields basically, like license date, the address basically, right? So all these things you have it over here. We have provided all the custom fields. Say for example, I'm not providing this mobile phone and it is mandatory, right? What will happen then? If I'm clicking next, it will throw an error saying like, hey, your mobile phone is not, I mean, mobile number is missing actually, and it will highlight here as well, right? So it will not enable, I mean, not allow you to move further without providing that particular value. Okay, now I'm able to go next, right? I'm creating a new vehicle. Maybe win. I think I will just go with some random win number. I'm just copying this. You can, I mean, some sites will be there, right? Like random win generator something. I'm going with some random win. So if the benefit of having a valid win number is that once you provide that one, it will auto populate all other things like, model year, make, model, color, everything. Okay. Now license state I can provide, let it be California itself, California, and the coverage rate also let it be California. Okay. And what percentage does each driver use this vehicle? We have only one driver, so we're choosing that particular driver, and 100%, right? If you have two drivers, definitely this will be 50-50%, and you can change that percentage as well. Okay. And these are all few custom fields which we have for that particular vehicle. Cost new is mandatory, so I'm just providing $200 here. So additional interest also you can just add if you want any additional interest to this one. These are all completely your choice. Okay. Now we are landing to the coverage screen. So this is line level coverage, like personal auto coverages basically. And these are all, I mean, I told you, right? This is a mandatory coverage. That is the reason this is grayed out. It is selected and it is grayed out basically. Okay, you cannot unselect this one. So let me open product design and show you this particular coverage. Why this is coming as grayed out, right? So yeah. Okay, product model, policy line. I'm just searching for this one here. Okay, so you got that particular coverage over here. So what is availability? The existence is required here, right? That is the reason you are finding this as grayed out, and you cannot uncheck this. See, when I'm hovering my mouse over here, I cannot uncheck this one because it is already mentioned as required basically in the existence of that particular coverage in the product designer. Okay, I will show you one another example. Say for example, medical payments. This is coming as selected by default, but I'm able to unselect this one, right? Why so? I'm just showing you this one as well. Medical payments, right? Okay. Oh, sorry, this is not the one. Medical payments. Policy line. Yeah, medical payments, right? So this one is suggested basically. I told you, right? If the existence is suggested, it will come by default, but you can unselect this one basically. That is the reason. Since that is suggested in product designer, that is the reason you are able to unselect this one. Okay. And there might be some, this is an electable basically, right? Because it is not selected by default, but you can select it actually, right? So if I select this one, yeah. If I go here and if I select this one here, I think this is the one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is required.
Yeah. No, this is selective. No, that is a curve term basically. Okay.
Oh.
So existence is selectable over here. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is why you're finding that particular coverage as elected, and it is not selected by default basically. Okay. So let me have this one. Yeah.
Okay. Like in California, we have a minimum liability coverage and minimum medical coverages. So how is it elective? Like, is it because it should be not elective, right?
No, that completely depends on the requirement actually. You can configure it based on your requirements actually.
So it doesn't give us pre-configured thing. So we have to configure it.
No, I mean, it's completely depends on your client's requirement, right? You're saying something regarding California. It might not be the case for all the insurance things, right? I mean, it depends on case to case actually, right? Each coverage. We never knows what is the client's requirement basically, right? In this training app, this is like this only. But if in case you have your own client specific requirements saying like, for California state, this has to be mandatory. So what I meant is if you want any coverage to be mandatory for state specific things, right? You can have that as well. That is where what you need to do for that purpose is like, you define this by script, this existence. And then you have a script being called over here, the existence script. You can call a function. You can define a function in the studio, call that particular function here, saying like, hey, for California state, this particular coverage has to be mandatory. You can do that actually, because if you define this as required here, right, what is happening is like, for all the states, it will be required actually. It won't be specific to that particular state. But if you define a function saying like, if this jurisdiction is California, make it as required. Then you will have to define this by script, and you need to define it over here in the existing script. That is what you have to do. Okay. Yeah. So that is what. Yeah. So then this is line level coverages basically, right? PA coverages, right? The coverage applied to all vehicles in the California. Now we have vehicle level coverages basically. So coverages applied per vehicle in California. Okay, you will find this. I will just take this as an example: towing and labor. Right? Let me check how this is defined here. Yeah. So this is covered object is what? Personal vehicle, right? So the coverable here is vehicle basically. But in the other case, what was it actually? What medical payments, right? Which we have discussed.
PL line it will be.
Yeah, exactly. The line. So the coverable is going to be a line actually there. Medical payments, right? So here, the coverable is personal auto line actually. So what you're trying to cover here, that is that particular line itself. Okay. And the other one is towing and labor is what? Your vehicle. Your coverage is going to cover your personal vehicle for this particular coverage, towing and labor. That is what it means actually. Okay, that is the reason it is coming here actually. Coverage is applied per vehicle in California. Then you can add, say for example, you have two vehicles added, right? What will happen basically? I'll just show you that as well. Say for example, you have two vehicles. I'm creating one more vehicle, and you cannot have two same VIN here. Okay, I'm just generating another VIN. Okay. License state, let it be California. Okay, I'm just going to this PA coverages. Now what will happen? Okay, I think I need to power this as well. So now what will happen is, no assigned, drivers any assigned, I believe. That's okay, that's an error, warning, right? That's okay. So now what basically happens is, you have two sections here, right? It's a list view with some details here, list detail view basically, right? So for this list, you have what? You have, for this particular vehicle, you have set of coverage details.
Whatever.
Yeah. Now, if you select this vehicle, right? Again, you need to choose that particular coverage for that particular vehicle. Exactly. So comprehensive I've chosen for this vehicle. That is the reason it's coming this way. For the second one, I haven't selected comprehensive. So you can, from case to case, from vehicle to vehicle, you can change it basically. But line level, that is not the case. You can have only one liability, bodily injury, and property damage, because you cannot have multiple lines, right? You can have only one personal auto line basically. But vehicles, you can have an array of vehicles basically in that line, right? So that is the reason you are finding all. You can have array of vehicles here, and you can be having corresponding coverages here. So that part is also clear, right? To Karan as well as Okay. Okay, so that is also done here. Let me. Okay, I think maybe I'm.
Current studio is not yet up.
It should be up by this time, I believe.
Sorry, server, studio.
Yeah.
It's taking time.
Maybe I can. Okay. Let us know once it is up. Okay.
It also says like studio update 6.2 is available. Click to download. Should I?
No, that is fine. That is fine. Even if that is not the case, also, even if you are not taking the latest update, also your studio should be up basically. Okay, that is not it.
Compiling gosu code and configuration.
Okay, it will take some time. Initially, it will take some time to build and all. But once your initial startup is done, right? Second time when you start the server, it shouldn't take that much time. Okay, now I'm going to quote it. Now you are into risk analysis, right? I'm just trying to quote it. Okay, so now you're getting an error message basically.
Validation error.
Yeah, this is the validation error basically at the time of quote. Why this error was not getting populated when you was in vehicle screen is that the validation of that particular error message was done at the time of quote. Actually, we can set the levels for the validation. We have a session for that as well, validations as well. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So now, okay, I'm going to that particular vehicle. Okay, so let me add driver. Okay, let me quote it. So now it is getting quoted actually. We have provided some limits, deductibles, coverages and all, right? So based on what we have inputted, it's calculating the premium, and then it is giving us a cost actually here. like tax and surcharges, premium. So this is the premium which the insured will have to pay actually. Okay, so that insurer will give you that particular coverage or that policy issued actually. Okay, now once you have quoted, so when you're quoting it, you will get all the premiums over here. Say for example, each vehicle level, what are all the coverages you have for the each vehicle. So it will display this way actually. And since this is California, you have a tax for California state actually. So it will show that particular state, California state tax as well here. So this is coming from the rating actually. Okay, so that is where rating comes into picture. Okay, and then you have something like a payment here. This is where you'll have to pay it actually, right? For by default, it is having some payment chosen. You can choose like full pay or EMIs, all these things you can choose it over here actually. Okay, now I'm trying to bind or issue policy. I'm directly going for the issuance. Let's see what will happen. So now it is issued. Now you have a policy number here. Okay, I'm clicking this policy. Now this is basically nothing but a policy file. Okay, you have issued that policy, right? Now the policy is coming into the policy file actually, and you will get all the details of that particular policy. Like if you're going for a policy change or a renewal or anything, right? All these things will be detailed in the policy file basically. So this is a new submission which I have done right now. In the policy transaction, I have discussed this one, right? So this is a new submission which I've created just now. Okay.
Yeah.
And it will show you the premiums and everything over here. Okay. And next one is, say for example, if I want to go for a change to this particular policy, that is policy change, right? I'm going for a policy change policy, effective which date? Say for example, I'm going for a future dated policy change. Okay, I'm clicking next. If you want to change the offering, I can change it from here in the policy change. Clicking next. Okay, drivers. Okay, say for example, I'm going to change something. Karan asked me, right? Like say for example, how we can change the premium from the UI, right? It's very easy. You just change this to, I'm just reducing the auto liability package here, and let's try to quote it. Okay, now let's see what will happen. See, change in cost is what? 1956. Total cost got reduced to $785. Why? You have reduced the limit basically. So this many change in cost is going to be 1956, and this is prorated basically. Okay, because
like in
you're changing in
daily jobs of this Guidewire thing as a configuration developer. So will we be more kind of into the Guidewire product designer or just a studio front end?
It's both, right? As a developer, you are prone to design anything actually. It can either be product designer thing, it can either be studio level thing. As a developer, you are meant to design anything with respect to the Guidewire application actually. So if you are a config developer, definitely product designer, data modeling, PCMs, all these areas, underwriting rules, ratings, all these things, you need to have some hands-ons basically. Okay. So you cannot say like, I am good at product designer and I don't know anything about PCFs. You cannot go that way actually. You need to have hands-ons in all these areas if you are a Guidewire developer, PolicyCenter developer. Okay. And rating, definitely, I mean, it's not like, whenever you say I'm a configuration developer, because rating, it's a different world actually. So we have rating specialists basically. Yeah, rating. I mean, to get the premiums, right? So rating developers are different actually. They will be specialized in rating actually. Whenever you say config developers, it's not like you will be having hands-ons in ratings all the time. It's because we have a separate team for ratings. I mean, all the time.
And the rating. What is their job?
Yeah, I mean, to get the premiums, right? Say for example, you have some rate routines, so rate flows, and you have.
So that is for the business analyst, right? They are the ones.
No. They will give us the requirement, and as a developer, we need to configure the rating part actually. Rating, we have a session as well. We'll discuss in detail there. But what I meant is, rating developers means whenever you say configuration developer, you need not be part of the rating actually, because we have a separate team for rating actually all the time. Okay.
But we, as a configuration developer, I'll have to do some batch processes, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
So that is the integration part of the configuration part.
It's an integ part actually, integration part.
So that also I need to know, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but as a configuration developer, it's not mandated that you need to know all the things like messaging queues, batch process, and all, because most of the time this batch process, messaging queues, and all comes under integration actually. Okay, but batch process, it's good to know actually from a config standpoint as well, because if you want to
Yeah, because
automate
my
something,
brother
right?
told me that he's doing the configuration part mostly, but
Hmm.
they also give him some batch processes
That
tasks.
is what. Yeah, you can get batch process as well. But if you verify the guidewire law, I mean, study documents and all, right, always batch process will be defined in the integration part actually. Okay,
Okay.
but that is the reason is it is mostly meant in the intake areas. Like say for example, you want to retire something, right? You need to run an automate batch flow to to trigger some messages basically, right? So that claim center will know that some policy has been created with so and so premium. So if you want to do something, it is again integration, right? You are definitely
Okay.
creating a batch process, but you are intimating something, some other extender saying like so and so many policies has been created, and once you run that batch process, that information will be passed to the claim center. But it's not
Okay.
mandated that all the time it will be integrated. It can, as a config developer, it can be used. Batch process can be used in configuration as well. Okay,
Okay.
but it's more mainly used in integration actually.
Okay.
That is
The
what.
plugins we need to know, right?
Exactly, plugins as well. We have batch process plugins as well. I think we have.
Startable plugins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's also there actually, definitely. So we'll come to those parts. I mean, and after PCF, I believe we'll start with that part as well. Okay, but these are all the building blocks basically initially. Okay, so you got an idea regarding like how we are doing a policy change, new submission, and all, right? I'm not going in detail with everything, but once your server is up, right, you can also try from your end. You can just play around with the URL. It's very user friendly. It's not complex at all, but you will get to know. Okay, so yeah. So what I meant is once you make some changes to the cost, right, or the limits, right, you will find something like change in cost in this one, right? And then cost change detail, you will get what has happened basically. It's prorated basically because I am going for a midterm policy change, right? So the proration factor is there, and then based on that, it will multiply basically. Okay, so 588 into minus 1.8962 will give you this one actually. And how you're getting this prorated fee, value, that is with respect to this particular date actually. Okay, so this is effective from I mean 4/25/2025, right? This policy change, right? That is how you're getting this proration factor as minus 1.8962. There is a separate calculation for that. Okay, so yeah, I think we are pretty much good with the transaction part as well. Do you want me to start with the PCF today, or we'll move to other transactions for 15 more minutes and we'll start PCF as fresh actually? How you
PCF
want to?
tomorrow we
Okay,
can start with PCF because
okay,
we'll bring this to a logical closure.
okay, yeah, yeah, sure, definitely, yeah. So policy change, you understood, right? How I'm quoting this policy change basically. And
Yeah.
the reason why I'm getting this change in cost is because it's a proration, and also I've made some change to the limits in the one of the coverages basically. Okay. Now I'm again issuing this policy. So that is also issued actually. Okay. Now again I'm going to the particular policy file. What will happen here? You will get two policy periods here, right? One for the new submission that is effective from 4/7/2025
Course.
and 4/7. Think why it's
No.
coming this
This
way.
is the
That
close
is
date. It is not the policy end date.
because I think today only I have initiated
Yeah.
policy change, right?
Created and
So that is
closed
the
it
reason.
today.
Yeah, it's not the
Yeah.
expiration date basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is the reason. Yeah. So today itself I issued this policy, right? That is the reason it's coming
Yeah.
as closed it as 4/7. Okay, and then I created a policy change future date like April 25th, basically, right? So that
Hmm.
is the reason transaction effective date is 4/25, and the premium change it is shown here actually. So
Yeah.
2741 minus 1956. So this is kind of a refund basically. Okay.
Yeah.
So 2741 minus 1956. Okay. That is what you will get here actually in the policy change. And now you want what actually? Let's go with what cancel policy, right? I just wanted to cancel this policy. So this is the
No, no, no.
start
Before that,
cancellation.
let's do out of sequence.
Sure, definitely. Yeah. Okay. For auto sequence transaction, right? So whenever we say something like an auto sequence, it is not in sequence basically, right? So what is happening is like I have a policy change created on 4/25/2025, right? I already have a policy change that is issued. What if I create a policy change before this date actually, right? 4/25/2025. So then what happens is basically it is not in the sequence, right? I'm again going for a policy change before this date, right? So what is happening is I'm just going for a policy change again. The date, let it be, 16. Okay. So you will get something like this. This would be an auto sequence transaction. Are you sure you want to continue? Click OK. Then it will show this actually. So this is kind of a warning. Like, you already had a policy change after this date. So do you really want to have a policy change with this date that is before that particular policy change date, right? Clicking next. You can make some change. So let me do one thing. Okay.
Change the driver or add a vehicle.
Yeah, different. Anything we can do it. I will just add one more driver then. On new person, I will just add
Yeah.
or change. Okay. On change John something. Yeah. Date of birth. Let it be. Okay, it's pretty old. I think. I think go with 1950. Yeah, 1950 is okay. He's old. I think I will go with 1980. Yeah. And
Yeah.
these are all not mandatory ones. I'm just providing all these values. Okay, work, and if you provide the primary phone, the work, then work phone will be
This
mandatory
becomes
here.
mandatory. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if I choose home, what will happen? Home phone will be
Home
mandatory.
becomes mandatory.
Yeah, exactly. So that is understanding. So just one. Okay. Address. Okay, I'll just go with. So this is how you can create a random address. Okay.
Mm.
Address.
With
Okay, I
zip.
will just go with California state, right? CA state
Yeah.
random address generator. Okay, random
Oh.
address, something like this. Yeah. I'll go with this one. If in case you're stuck with any address or VIN number and all, you can just go with something like this. Okay. Or
Okay.
else I will just go with some.
Random California
Yeah, I will
address.
go with this one basically. Okay, I'll just
Oh.
choose this address. Yeah. It's not mandated that I need to follow this, but I'm just going with this.
Yeah.
State is California. Zip code is again. Okay. Address type, let it be billing. License number. It's a license number, California. Okay, I have added one address. I mean, sorry, one policy driver. Okay, this is an auto sequence transaction. I'm just quoting it. Okay, oh, something is missing. So I think we need license for that particular driver. Yeah, here, right? Year, I believe. So 199.
Yeah. 18 years.
Yeah. Role staff policy level. Okay, maybe again I think something is missing. Okay, I'm just providing some details. See what exception is thrown. Okay. See here, your policy change is an out of sequence transaction. There are future transactions at 4/25/2025. This is what you will get actually. And there are underwriting issues which must be examined in a future period actually. Okay.
Oh.
So let's see. So as of now, you don't have anything over here, but there are underwriting issues which must be examined in a future period, basically. So I'm just issuing this policy. So future period in the sense, see if it is blocking actually, right? So we have some underwriting issues now, mismatch something. Yeah. So again, now what we need to do in risk analysis, you need to just go with this one. So sometimes you won't be getting this approve button itself because this is super user, right? I have logged in as a super user. Super user will be having all the permissions like underwriter role, I mean permissions, MSS permissions, agents permissions. All the permissions are added for the super user. So this really depends on which user you have logged in. So if you remember correctly, I have logged into the system like super user, right? SU and GW as a password, right? So that is the reason I'm able to approve this one. I'm just approving it. Clicking OK. So that is approved basically. I'm issuing it actually. Now I'm able to bound that out of seconds policy actually. So you can see here, right?
Yeah.
So that is what you could see here actually. This is the out of sequence policy transaction. Okay. Now what is the next transaction which we want to say? For example, if you want to cancel now, right? You're going to cancel that particular policy. You need not have this policy now, right? So once you initiate the cancel policy, you will get this one actually, start cancellation, right? This screen will be coming up. So source, right? Like who is going to cancel this? Either insured or insurer, right? You are the insured one, and insurer is your company basically, who is insuring your policy. So clicking insured. Reason why you want to insure this, why you want to cancel this policy. So insured's request NOC. No employees operation. So these are different, reasons which we have. I mean, cancellation reasons which we have already. We have in the system basically. So this again will be a type list, right?
Yeah.
How you can check this in the backend? Alt Shift I will give you all the PCFs that are in the current screen basically, right? So I'm going with this screen, start cancellation.pcf. I will show you that. Start cancellation.pcf. So this is what, right? So which one is ours? This is a reason basically, right? The drop down. So if I click this one, this is a type key. You remember type key is always possible drop downs, right? The drop down values which you'll find. So what is the value? That is job.cancel cancel reason type, and the type key is what? Reason code. So cancel reason code, right? So reason code, let me try reason code. You have a TTX like this, reason code. Okay. And it will be having a category basically. Based on the category, you will find it in the UI. Okay. This one. So this is what you're finding all these things, right? This is based on the category. Source. So source is what? Source is insured, right? So here category you have insured. That is the reason you can find not taken here. Policy not taken, right? Right? So wherever you have category added as insured, you will find that particular type key basically. Not type key basically, sorry, type code basically. These are all type codes, yeah. These are all the type codes basically for the insured one. If I change this insured to insurer, this again will change. See, that list expanded basically for the insurer because you have more categories for the insured. I think this is insurer, right? Insurer basically. Insurer, let me choose. Okay, insurer, cancellation of underlying policy, right? Okay, this one. I think it's carrier. It's coming as carrier, I think. The backend.
Carrier and
yeah.
Actually, that label is insured.
Yeah.
Insurer.
Insurer.
Yeah.
But in the backend, the category is coming as carrier basically. Yeah. So if I choose cancellation source, I can see that as well over there. So cancellation source, right? So this is that particular type where we have this one. So see here, the name is insurer, but the code is carrier, right?
Correct.
So that is the reason. The name is something what which you find it over here actually in the source here. Okay. So yeah, I'm just going with any insured maybe this one, first one, and this again depends on the thing. Refund method depends on the dates basically. Okay, so I'm going with 7. 7 is nothing but current date itself, and I'm just starting the cancellation. So see, the cancellation is again an auto sequence transaction. Why? You have future transactions, like you have future, yeah, exactly.
4, 6, 7.
Exactly. That
Maybe
is the
you
reason
set
it
the
is.
30th as the cancellation date.
Yeah. Then this will not come
Then
actually.
it will, yeah, then it will get
Yeah.
cancelled.
Exactly. No, we can cancel
And,
now itself. I believe that is you can cancel it actually.
oh,
Yeah, that is fine. You can cancel it actually. Okay. Now, if you are viewing this policy, it will come like this. But again, it's an auto sequence actually, right? You are canceling. So this is how. So what all things you have made as a premium, you have seen the right last time policy change, you have seen $785, right? I think this one gave you 785. See, total cost for
yeah.
785. You are getting the 785 as a refund actually now when you're canceling it. Where is it? Yeah, this one 785. So that is the basic understanding about cancellation. Now what? Now if you want to again reinstate that particular policy, like play and pause, right? You have an option to reinstate. After canceling a policy only, you will find this reinstate policy here. Okay. So I'm clicking this reinstate policy here. Again, reinstatement will again be an auto sequence transaction, right? Because you have 416 and 425. You have two future dated transactions basically, right? So now again, you need to provide the reason here. Yeah, I'm choosing it as other. And I'm clicking it as next. Then we need to provide some, if you want to have some risk analysis, this is common basically. Okay. I'm just quoting that reinstatement. So reinstatement, you will not reinstatement cancellation, right? You will not be able to change anything basically. It's not like policy change or rewrite. In policy change or rewrite, right? You can change the values and all. But reinstatement and cancellation, you're not meant to change anything basically. So now, since I have reinstated this, again, you need to pay $785, right? The one which is getting refunded when we're canceling the policy, the same amount will be, you'll have to pay it again actually to reinstate that particular policy, right? I'm just reinstating this here. So now it is reinstated basically. If you again check the policy file, you will find one more transaction getting added here actually. It's reinstated on 4/7, right? So that is about reinstatement again. And now what actually? So till now, is it clear for you, or I
Yeah,
want to
it's
So,
make
so
clear.